about fears. Let's talk about love. Yeah, I got fears, but I ain't got no love.
Okay, so day 4 of Ravensburg Jane Doe. What did I find out today? Well, I did a couple of things this morning. One is I finally ventured out to the crime scene or body dump location, whichever one it may be. In a little bit here, I'm going to show you what I recorded out there, but I want to explain it before you see it. You have one stretch of road, okay? It's the main road, 880, that goes from Rauchtown to Loganton. As far as I know, and I'm pretty confident in saying this, that's the only road. It's the only road now, really, to connect the two places. And so I'm assuming it is the only road in 1925. So I'm confident saying that is the road that they're talking about that her body was found off of. When you go back to the site now and you locate that road, you're driving on the main road. To the right, you can rule that out because there's no embankment. Everything is to the left of the road. And as you're driving, I guess it would be north. No, it would be south to get to Loganton. There is an embankment right off of the road, and it's 12 foot in some areas. 12 foot, when you see that, you think, whoa, that's a big drop. In reality, it's not. You know, you have 6 foot people, so just imagine size of 2 people. For a vehicle to be down, this boggles my mind. How was that not seen? Now, the caveat to that, the flip side to that, is what if this car was not found off of that main road? And that's what I'm starting to believe. Because if that car is found right off of the main road, 12 foot, it's not like it's down over a huge cliff. The car itself has got to be at least 8 to 10 feet long. So I don't understand how the car wasn't seen for like 4 days. I don't understand that. Unless that car was not over in an embankment next to the main road. Meaning, if there are other roads back in the campground that have a 12-foot embankment, then maybe I can get behind the idea that the car wasn't seen for 4 days. Now, when I went back there this morning, there are roads back there, and it's not a big area. By not a big area, I'm talking you have less than a mile of really searchable area where this could have happened, I believe. But if there are other roads back there, like there are now, there are a couple areas maybe where a car could have went down over that maybe wouldn't have been spotted. I still don't understand that. I don't understand that. But it's so hard, right? It's hindsight's 20/20. That's with every murder case that I've ever worked. If you're not there in the moment, it's hard for you to be a judge of that detective or DA. I think of the Jolene Witt case just because we got done with that. And how I sit here and Monday morning quarterback it off of old police reports. Yet I wasn't there. Like the district attorney at the time, Tom Marino. And so when I, not criticize, but when I disagree with his decisions, I'm doing that off of basically a paper trail of old history, not being there at the scene at the time, which he was. And you get more of a feeling when you're there. So with that said, listen, in 1925 when this happened, did I say 24 earlier? 1920. It was 1925. Were there roads back there behind the main road in the campground? And was it just laid out differently? That's a whole possibility, that it looked nothing like it does today. Now, unless there was a flood or something, and there is a creek that comes down through there, I find it hard to believe. And even so, let's say in 1925 the campgrounds are in one area, and let's say there's a big flood or a fire that wipes everything out. 9 times out of the 10, the campground would be rebuilt in the exact same area. With that said, that is why I contacted the Jersey Shore Historical Society, because I want to find maps of that area for 1925 to show, to number one, to verify, hey, there's one main road that a vehicle could travel. Okay, so let's establish that. I think I know, but let's establish it for a fact. And at the park entrance, there is another road that was utilized. Okay, is that the same road? Let's overlay that with what we have today back there and see if it matches. I believe that everything is going to be the same. And if it is, how a car was missed, I don't know. But man, I always hate when people pick or like, I don't know, are very always negative. You know, always optimistic or pessimistic, I'm sorry, and trying to make other people look incompetent. I don't like that. I've seen some YouTube channels that, hey, they have no idea what they're talking about when it comes to criminal investigations. None. But I don't get on here and point them out. I don't get on their comment section or whatever and leave a comment telling them how bad they are. No. Hey, they like doing it. They're trying to do it. They just don't know what they're doing. But I'm not here to make fun of them, or point out all the negatives. So I don't like doing that to past investigators. But it's much more difficult now trying to get yourself into that time period of 1925 than the people that were there in the present time, 1925. So I guess what I want to emphasize is this is going to be more difficult than what I thought. Not impossible. It's just some things have to fall into place. Because when I got back to the site and I was looking around, the first thing that struck me is, how was a vehicle missed back here unless things were laid out totally different? Secondly was, where is the specific spot where her body was found? Because it's not a big area, but it's big enough that unless I find berry bushes, which I couldn't today, and hey, just because a berry bush was there 100 years ago doesn't mean it's there today. The first embankment that I saw that was 12 feet was right off of the road, but it led at the bottom to a creek. And I think that they would have said, hey, the car was resting in a creek. There was no indication that I saw, and I'll go back through it, that the car or a body was located anywhere near a creek. But the creek comes right down next to that road. So unless that creek was rerouted or the road went around it somehow in 1925, that is why I contacted the Historical Society. And it's so important to find the layout of that area 98 years ago. So, hey, go ahead, have a look at what I was looking at bright and early this morning. I sat down back there. I didn't have to do a selfie thing, thank goodness. I was able to set my camera down at a kind of an odd angle on some benches that were back there, but I gave my thoughts for when I'm back there. So, have a look at all that. So this looks to be the camping area, at least now at Ravensburg State Park. You can see the little picnic tables and, pads for tents. And you see the road right beyond it. See it right there? That has got to be the only road that goes from Rauchtown to Loganton. I'm quite sure of that. And they said the body was 5 feet from that road. So now what I have to do is find a 12-foot embankment. And we should be on the right course of travel here. So let's check it out. Okay, so I'm standing on a pad for a campground, for a tent. And that has got to be the road. And that's a 12-foot embankment, but I can't believe that that would be it. I mean, that runs the whole length of the road. And wouldn't they say something about a stream, that the automobile was in a creek? And if it's that close to the road, how can that be missed? There's no way that can be missed. So, looks like more investigation has to be done. Okay, so we still see the road up here. See now how this creek has bent away from that road? So earlier, I was down that way and we were looking at a 12-foot embankment coming down off of that road. And I said, I don't think it's it, because it would have said that the car was in the creek. So here, as you see, it bends away from that road. So now, I can deduce that more than likely the body was found from here north. So that's the area we have to check out next, is up there. Because if the kids were camping down here, if this was still the campground area, and I see no reason why that would change, they were picking berries. So now what I have to do is stick close to this road, because the body was found 5 feet, I guess, from that road. That's very close. And find that 12-foot embankment, which is 80 feet from that road, and some berry bushes. So it's got to be up that way. So I'm back here at Ravensburg State Park, looking for this area. I found the campground. I think this is the same campground area. It's not very big. It's not, I guess, like a typical state park. It's smaller. You can't have RVs back here, only tents. So I found that area, and as I showed you, the drop off there off the road, there's no indication that that's where, if it was 12 feet high back in 1925 or not. So this is going to be a more, you can hear all the wood cutting being done along the road over here, but this is going to be more difficult than I thought. Again, this is just first my initial impression being back here, walking around looking. It's amazing how everything looks so much different now than when I was back here for recreation. And so now I'm back here for work. and I'm seeing things that I never saw before. But of course, I'm looking for things. So this was just a quick get yourself refamiliarized with the area type of thing. I reached out to the Jersey Shore Historical Society to see if they have maps of this area, because I want to know if there's more roads. Because right now you have the main road, which you have seen, which I believe is the road they're talking about from 1925. But they're not specific to say that the car went down over an embankment there off of that road. They just say a car was found off a 12-foot embankment. 12-foot embankment's not that high. So where is there another road back? Now there's roads going back here to this campground, gravel roads, not the main road. I want to know if they were in play back then, because I might be looking in a completely wrong area. So that's the next step. So anyhow, I just wanted to get back here. It's nice out here, smelling the crisp, autumn air. Wish it was a little bit more peaceful, but they got road construction work going on not far from here, as you can probably hear. But, it's 7 o'clock in the morning. It's very quiet still back here. Nice area. Hard to believe that a 98-year-old murder mystery is happening and happened right here. And here we are, almost a century later, investigating it. Makes me proud. It makes me feel good that, no matter how much time goes by, people don't forget. There's good people out there. And, all of you guys that have sent me emails, I've never got so many emails on a case already. So I appreciate you coming along with this mystery, and we'll figure this out and figure out who Ravensburg Jane Doe is and give her a proper burial, give her a tombstone. That's the goal, that's the mission. So thank you for coming along with that, and got a lot of work ahead of us, but hard work never hurt anybody. So with that, hey, from On Scene, Mains out. Okay, so now you see what I saw at the crime scene or body dump location. That's just a little snippet. That was one area. That was the north side of the park. I still have to explore the south side. I didn't walk over there yet. And we'll look. I'll go back there many more times, trust me. That was just get the sense, get the feel, just like getting that visual. And thank you to all the people that sent the 1920 stuff. I certainly appreciate that. It's giving me a visual. Now I went back there, give me more of a visual. All that stuff is important to me. But when I came back from that, it started to dawn on me. Somebody had sent me or made a comment on Facebook under one of the photographs. And I'm sorry if I don't, there's just so many, sometimes I can't get to them. But the one that I did read just said one key word to me. And sometimes that's all it takes. One key word to make me think of something. And the key word was speakeasy. Not 2 words, speakeasy. 1 word, a speakeasy. And that got me thinking again about Prince Farrington. Remember, I mentioned him a couple months ago. And I talked to an Amish guy today too, to rule out the Amish community being here. They didn't arrive here till the 80s. So I just wanted to rule out the Amish thing. I told you I'd get to that. But the Amish is going to play into what I'm about to speak about when it comes to Prince Farrington. So Prince Farrington, I don't know how I got into his name, somehow local history a few months ago. And he had all these moonshine stills around here, and he served moonshine in Prohibition to the President of the United States, is the rumors. He had a field in Loganton called Florida, what was it? The Florida Farms or something like that, where he had stills and ran moonshine, and he was a big bootlegger. One of the, not just of this area, the entire United States at the time. And I borrowed a book because I'd reached out to the author. I think I mentioned this, something Graybill, and I was like, hey, send me your book, and I'll send you mine. I do that with a lot of people. If they got books that I'm interested in, we'll just swap books. I'll sign it to you, you sign it to me. I got a whole collection of signed books from a lot of people. And he's like, I'm not really interested. So, first time I ever had that happen. So I'm talking to an Amish guy, and I've talked to him before about history. He's into history, and he says, I have the book. So he let me borrow the book, and I read it. And I took some snapshots, some screenshots, or I guess they're not screenshots. I took pictures of the book about various locations where his stills were, because I wanted to go back and look for artifacts. And I tried to make this happen. I located the area, Florida Fruit Farm, who owns it now. We had a common friend. I reached out to that friend to reach out to them, and they said, yeah, we'll see if we can make it happen. And it never happened. It kind of bummed me out. But the flip side is that speakeasy, when I read that book, the author said that there was I don't know how else to say this other than say a horror house, a house of ill repute, a speakeasy where women were, and you could go there. It's prostitution. And it was on this road called Rocky Road, which basically leads right to Ravensburg State Forest. I mean, right to it. It's like a T intersection. Then today, so I start looking into Prince Farrington a little more, and I find an August 26, 1925 article. So 1 month and 10 days after the discovery of this body, this newspaper article comes out about 38 barrels of booze was destroyed by members of the U.S. Marshal's Office in Williamsport. The stuff was seized on the Florida Fruit Farm of Prince Farrington. Now, is that a smoking gun to anything? No, but it does establish that Prince Farrington and his bootlegging operation in moonshine was taking place not within the same year, within the same month that this automobile accident and this girl was murdered. Now, I never always get the question, whenever I was on any big television series, the History Channel, Discovery Channel, I just did an interview for Investigative Discovery Channel and Science Channel. They always ask me, tell me about a detective's hunch. And I always say, hey, you can't go by that. And that's true. But you always have it. Every detective has it. I just have a hunch, and it can be wrong. But this is going to lead back somehow to the bootlegging operation, maybe, of Prince Farrington. Now, Prince Farrington, from all accounts that I've read, is a non-violent type of guy. But I also do know, and I'm not saying he's involved, okay? I'm not saying that at all. He's like a local folk hero. That's crazy. But Billy the Kid is also, and he killed 21 men if you want to believe him. 5 people if you want to know the truth. But a lot of times, listen, Billy the Kid, well, I'm not going to get on a rant about Billy the Kid, but he sometimes had killed from necessity. So there was a necessity back then more so than there is today. And the same can be said for 1925 in a way. But listen, right off the bat, somebody being shot, when somebody tells me that, I don't think of a crime of passion. Now, it certainly can be, and it has in the past. But somebody being shot a lot of time leads me right away to business. If the person isn't sexually assaulted, and usually if they're sexually assaulted, they're beaten with a blunt force instrument, strangled. They're not normally shot. Okay? Now, it has happened, certainly. I'm not saying that. But immediately my mind goes to, I'm thinking, and this is just a hunch that I never like doing, but we all get them, that somebody that knew something, and she was silenced. I mean, this certainly can always change. But no matter how you try to not develop a theory, a working theory as you're going through something, you always will. It's just the way your brain is wired. Now, the good detectives are the ones that can switch that up. You know what I mean? Don't stay on it when something doesn't make sense. For example, let's say I go to the Historical Society tomorrow and find out that, yes, there was a speakeasy house on Rocky Road. It's the only documented one, but it closed in 1923. And it was burned down to the ground. Well, okay, so then maybe I could say, okay, it's not related to that, right? You have to, instead of being bulldogged and just saying, well, that can't be. And then make excuses as to why your theory still fits. That's what I can't stand when people do that. But I regress. I regress or degress or digress. I neither. I just continue on with my thought. So that speakeasy, I'm pretty sure it was going to be in the operation here. The automobile. That is what I'm going to spend, I think, the rest of today on, and maybe tomorrow, is tracking that automobile somehow, some way. See what I can come up with. So, and the layout of the land. Those are the two things that I'm going to spend some time on. The clothing, you guys have helped out so much on that I think I got a good idea of that. So you see how you have all these things within a cold case that you must learn about. The clothing, the automobile, the history, Prince Farrington, the speakeasy, the graveyard, all that stuff. That's all in this cloud of cold cases. But our job is to take one out, one at a time. Be meticulous about it. Don't rush it. Because what hurry do we have? Right? This is a case that has been on the shelf for 98 years. Nobody knows about it. So there's not a sense of urgency. You don't have to rush. A man in a rush takes shortcuts. Okay? And I won't shortcut this case. So, the clothing. I think I got a good handle on that. Putting that out of that cloud. Now, the layout of that land. That's what I want to focus on. And then, the vehicle. I want to focus on that. So, if that means, let's find a it doesn't mean it's a 1925 vehicle, right? Could be a 1920. I need to know the length of those vehicles. And why do I need to know that? Well, because if it's over an embankment, a 12-foot embankment, how big is the car? Is it longer than 12 feet that the top of the back end of the car would have been seen? Things like that. Are they necessary? Maybe to some detectives, that's not necessary. But for me, it is necessary. Because again, I want to know this like the back of my hand. So when you get the random question, let's say the time comes. Remember I said in the last video how important it is to work it backwards from trial. Now this case ain't going to go to trial, okay? But what could happen, and what I hope to happen, is when I petition the state to dig up her body and exhume it for DNA, I undoubtedly, I have a hard time saying that word. There is no doubt that I am going to be sitting in a room somewhere with a governor, with a state representative, and they are going to want to know why and what evidence do I have and this and that. And if I get the odd question of, well, how do you know the car wasn't seen down over the bank for 4 days? And I can intelligently say, well, the car was a 1923 Oldsmobile two-door that had a V6 engine, and it measured 23.3 feet in length and 8 feet, whatever it is. And they can be like, oh, okay. He's not an idiot. He knows what he's talking about. He's done his research. That's all we want. And then they'll take it maybe a little bit more serious than if I went in there and said, boy, I don't know. I didn't look into that part of it. I didn't look at that part of it. And then as soon as you leave the room, they're going to be like, hey, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. No, you don't want that. You want people to know, hey, I know this, this, and this. I know everything about this case. I've researched it. I'm passionate about it. I want to make a difference. I need to give this girl her name. So exhume her body so we can get DNA. Then maybe they'll take you serious. That's the goal. Okay? So, with that said, the Prince Farrington angle, I'm going to have to follow up on. Okay? I got to know how we know there was a speakeasy. What's the address of it? Things like that. Got to know. So the case is still developing. It's getting exciting, right? There's lots of moving parts. Vicky, and I apologize, I don't know her last name, went way ahead of me and got a death certificate for this Jane Doe, for this girl, and posted it on my Facebook page. How impressive is that? Okay? I would have got to it eventually, Vicky. You just are working a little bit fast. But you guys are excited about this too. And, we're doing it together. And that's important. Keep sending the stuff, your thoughts. And, I read as much as I can when I'm not out doing things myself. You got to imagine, I still have like 3 other shows that I'm doing at the same time. And I have to edit and do all those things. And, you're the investigator, you're the producer, you're the editor, And then on top of that, I have life. I got animals I got to take care of. I got a daughter that I got to run to her extracurricular activities. I got to cook dinner. I got to clean. I got to take care of the dogs. I got to go to the doctors with my dad. I got to go to the doctors with myself. Have to go over and remove air conditioners from my mom and dad's house today. I got all that going on. So sometimes it seems like there's not enough hours in the day. But when you enjoy what you're doing, you never work a day in your life. And I am blessed and I am fortunate to be able to work on this case as much as I can because I love it. And I hope you guys love this new show. So that's it for episode 4, which is day 4 of my investigation into the Ravensburg Jane Doe. Take care. Until next time, Mains out.